Hello, my name is Jeremy, just your average everyday guy. That is until sometime in my early 30s, I developed a spinal condition known as ankylosing spondylitis. It took me from this, 6 foot tall, to this, not 6 foot tall. But I wasn't going to let that get me down forever, so eventually I kicked some bad habits and started fighting back. I still get some pretty strange looks, but I'm now doing what I love, traveling and adventuring. My goal is to show other people with disabilities or anyone facing challenges that your best days don't have to be behind you and that there's always hope. So thanks for joining me, the Handicapped Hiker. On the last episode, I visited Custer State Park in the Black Hills of South Dakota and Theodore Roosevelt National Park in North Dakota. After a quick detour to the Enchanted Highway, I set my sights eastward. Let's get day 21 started with a 4.5-hour drive to Itasca State Park in northern Minnesota. Established in 1891, this is the second oldest state park in the country, right behind Niagara Falls in New York. The reason I'm here is to get my steps in on a long travel day, and to check out what the park is most known for, the headwaters of the Mississippi River. That's right, the mighty Mississippi starts right here with little more than a trickle. Is also known for its 1,200-acre glacial lake, old-growth red pine forest, native burial mounds, and mosquitoes. Lots and lots of bloodthirsty mosquitoes. Planned on doing more hiking than this. But these mosquitoes are killing me. I gotta get back to the car and get some repellent. There are mounds here. It's hard to make them out on camera probably, because they're all overgrown. But nonetheless, these are authentic, original, untouched mounds. The kid threw a rock at me. And we're back to the visitor center. This morning, I'm going to start another long travel day with a little detour up the north shore of Lake Superior. Lake Superior. This is Tettegouche State Park, about 60 miles northeast of Duluth. I'm here to hike out to Shovel Point, but first I'm gonna head down to the mouth of the Baptism River, about 4/10 of a mile from the parking lot. It's hard to tell with the waves rolling in, but the river actually does flow into the lake, and there are many waterfalls upstream to prove it. From here, it's about 1.9 miles out to Shovel Point, then back to the car with a couple of spur trails along the way.
Ooh, I'm in the club.
As many of you know, I was born and raised on the south shore of Lake Erie in the far northeast corner of Ohio, so I often take the Great Lakes for granted. But this part of Lake Superior and other parts of Lake Michigan I've been to look nothing like the area I grew up in.
Oh my.
What many people fail to realize is just how massive the Great Lakes really are. They are often referred to as inland seas, and they hold over 20% of the planet's fresh water. Lake Superior is the deepest and largest by surface area. Lake Erie is the shallowest and smallest by volume. Lake Michigan and Lake Huron are technically one big lake separated by the Straits of Mackinac, where the Mackinac Bridge is located. And Lake Ontario is the smallest by surface area and the only Great Lake below Niagara Falls. Altogether, they cover more than 94,000 square miles and provide major shipping routes that largely contributed to the industrialization of America. They're also large enough to create their own weather, including waterspouts, thunderstorms, and everyone's favorite, lake effect snow. Most places only get snow when a storm rolls through, but the Great Lakes are one of a few places in the world that create snow from cold wind blowing moist air off the lake onto the shore and inland as much as 50 miles. It's like a giant snow machine that just never seems to stop. This nightmare persists for several months, and the snowfall is often measured in feet rather than inches.
Has a bit of a Pacific Northwest feel to it. More steps. When I was a kid growing up on the south shore of Lake Erie, I'd watch the waves rolling in and wonder if the waves on the other side of the lake flowed away from their shore. Not that I doubted my mom's answer, but I guess now I know for sure. There's a lot more to do in this park, and even more that I missed on the entire North Shore. But it's a 6-hour drive to Marquette, so let's get back on the road.
Now we get to go down steps for a change. Very cool trail. Highly recommend it.
Let's get today started with a 1-hour drive to our first stop in Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore near Munising, Michigan.
The visor never covers where you need it to.
Here we are at Miner's Castle, a rock formation on the cliffs above Lake Superior. From the parking area, it's a little more than half a mile round trip to the Overlook and back. I've been to this park before and did a scenic cruise back in episode 26. But this is the first time I've gotten out of the car at any of the land-based attractions. Being a national lakeshore, Pictured Rocks is often overlooked in favor of other national parks. The Upper Peninsula of Michigan is definitely worth seeing, though. It's also my favorite route to avoid Chicago.
Drastic difference from being out west.
Stop is near the opposite end of 12 Mile Beach, about a 45-minute drive from here. Just about 10 minutes from here is the Log Slide Overlook. At the end of this short 0.2 mile walk is an area of the sand dune slope known as the Log Slide. It's where lumberjacks would slide their logs down a wooden chute to the lake below, where they could then be floated to nearby towns and milled into lumber. far eastern edge of Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore is Sable Falls. From the parking area, it's only 170 yards to the waterfall overlook and another 400 yards from there to the lakeshore. I really only intended to see the falls, but decided to go ahead all the way to the beach anyway. Well, that's it for Pictured Rocks. Now, it's another hour-and-a-half drive to the next location. This is Tahquamenon Falls State Park, Michigan's second largest state park. There are two visitor areas at the Upper Falls and Lower Falls, separated by a 10-minute drive or a 5-mile hike along the river. I'm only going to do about 1.6 miles here today to check out the Upper Falls from a few different viewpoints. kind of hard to see today, but the falls are often colored brown from tannins in the water. At times, the water has been so brown, the falls have earned the nickname Root Beer Falls. It's quite the phenomenon at Tahquamenon. I'll see myself out, thank you very much. Maybe I'll go get some root beer. And so, after 5 stops and over 5 hours of driving, I'm calling it a day in St. Ignace. And that's it. I stopped by the world-famous Manley's Fish Market for some smoked whitefish and fish dip. Then I crossed the always impressive 5-mile-long Mackinac Bridge. After one more stop at Murdoch's in Mackinaw City to get some fudge for Mom, I made the long 520-mile drive to my home on the Ohio-Pennsylvania state line. But we're not done yet, because after a short break at home, there's a trail in Maine calling my name. And it's time for me to get some revenge. So be sure to tune in for the next episode, and we'll see you then.